Hello everyone, my name is Peter Sassman and I'm president and co-founder of Haptic Solutions Incorporated. And today we're going to be looking at how to set up the Cilia Unity plugin. So let's start by opening up a web browser and then we'll go to hapticsoul.com. Then we'll click on the software tab. And we'll scroll down and click download Unity plugin. Okay, now we'll right click, show in folder, and then right click, extract all, and extract. Okay, now we have the Unity package here. We'll go ahead and open up Unity Hub. Okay, and then we'll just create a Cilia tutorial 2818. Click create. Okay, now that the editor's loaded up, we'll go ahead and drag in the Unity package and click import. Once that finishes loading, double click on the Cilia plugin and open the Cilia example. Now that that's loaded up, go ahead and click play. And from here we can use the W, A, S, and D keys to see some of the effects on the Cilia. The various blocks have different lighting effects, and also the closer we are to the center of these blocks, the more intense various smells on the Cilia will play. Once you've finished experimenting, go ahead and click the play button again to exit. And now we'll look over some of the prefabs that are used to make this scene. So go ahead and double click on the prefabs folder and click on Cilia. Now we see the Cilia prefab. This prefab is required for working with the Cilia as it talks with the SDK over the network. So if you're working on the same machine that has the SDK and the Cilia attached, go ahead and just leave the Cilia port and IP the same. If you're working on designing a game for a mobile headset that will communicate with a PC that has a Cilia connected, insert the port and IP address of that machine here. Down here we can see the game profile section. Here you type the name of your game, preferably single spaced and alphanumeric, starting with letters. The SDK will actually create a folder using the name you provide here. Here we can see the surround group. So the Cilias are divided by groups. They can be based on the position around the player, rooms that the Cilia are physically located in. So you'll want to select the appropriate group that Cilias will end up in by default. And then if you watch the tutorial on using the control panel, you'll be able to see how to change what groups Cilias are part of in that tutorial. Down here we can see that we can add smells to the smell library. Go ahead and increase this number if you have more than 6 smells to add to your game. Then you just type in the smells here. Again, preferably single word and just alphabet characters for these. And the first 6 in the list will actually be the default 6 smells that a Cilia will be set up with. Down here we can also see these are the default lighting that your game profile will have. So you set these to red, green, blue values between 0 and 255. So we'll just insert in some placeholder values for now. And you can put whatever values you would like. Okay, this should be the default location for the scripts. If you choose to rearrange the folder structure or don't put the plugin directly in the assets folder, you'll want to update where it is located here so that it can be found when you push this button down here, which I'll describe in a minute. If you want to make sure that the SDK goes ahead and has whatever these default lighting and smell settings are, let's say you press play already before getting these to the final settings, or later on you change your mind, you can go ahead and use force clean update, and that'll set the Cilias back to the default settings here. You'll want to make sure that you uncheck that though before you release to your customers, due to the fact that they will may have already set where they want the Cilias and what smells they want. I should say that any new smells that you do add will get added to the SDK even if you don't check this checkbox. It's just more of a convenience thing. You can always go into the control panel and add any of the new smells that you added without having to click force clean update. Okay, finally we have update surround group list and smells list. So if you've added any smells here or down here, I need to expand this. These are the groups that I was discussing earlier. You can define your groups here the same as you define the smells up above. And then clicking this button will actually regenerate those. So when we're looking at some of the other prefabs, and even here, we can see this drop down, those are affected by that down there. Now, one thing caveat I should say is when you're working with the Cilia prefab, do not select all. That's not a valid option. On all the other prefabs, if you want their effect to affect all of the Cilias, no matter which group they're in, then you'd select all. Okay, so let's move on to the Cilia fan prefab. So we can see here it has a collision box, so as your player collides, that'll trigger the effect. Here you would place what game object is actually triggering the smell. Here we have fan speed. So this is how fast you want the fan to spin whenever the trigger's entered. We have the group, so this is which group you want the smell to be played on. If you wanted to play on all groups, as I said before, you press all. And then this is where you select which smell you would like to play. If you want the smell to stay on whenever the player leaves the collision area, check this box here. Okay, now we have Cilia fan linear. So once again, you choose which object is going to cause the effect, which group you want it to apply to, which smell. And then for this one, instead of just being a constant smell, you can see that the intensity is gone. This will actually go from a 0 intensity when you're on the edge of a collision box and become more intense as you reach the center. If the size of the collision box may change due to it being, having a parent object, you'll want to check dynamic, and then it'll take into account that the size may change on the collision box. Okay, now we have the Cilia light prefab. So on this one, once you enter the area, it'll simply take the light that you want, or all lights on a Cilia, if you check here, that are in a specified group, and change them to a specified RGB color. Okay, now we have the light breathe effect. So same group, here's something called speed divider. So this is how much time has to pass before a frame of the effect is played. So I'd recommend not having this number go below about 0.1, or you may run into the case where the SDK may crash. If you're on a more capable machine, you can play around with this number. You might be able to achieve, higher speed by decreasing this value. Now, the breathe effect transitions between two colors, so you're kind of defining the red, green, and blue values of those two colors here. And then how quickly it transitions between the two colors in terms of how many frames is here. So it'll take 10 increments to transition to one color and 10 increments to transition back. Okay, moving on to the crazy light color effect. So yeah, pretty much all the same stuff up here. On this one, there's a little bit of variability, some randomness. So this is kind of the base amount of time between when the frame will change, and then added on to that will be another however much time that'll be randomly decided out of this. So it could be anywhere from, another 0.1 seconds or 0 seconds all the way up to 2 seconds before the frame changes. You can tweak these values to achieve different speeds of flickering. Again, here's the color, red, green, and blue. And now for this one, we'll see here, this is a light flicker. This, as you see, it says crazy light effect. So it's also on this one going to be taking a certain percentage of the red, green, and blue that are random for like dimming the lights. So it'll actually be kind of a chroma flicker because these will change different amounts. So one frame it might be kind of green, and another frame it would be blue, red, etc. If you want all of them to change the same color and intensity, click here. This light flicker is similar to the other light flicker, other than the same random value of intensity will be applied to all red, green, and blue. So it'll stay the same color. The brightness will just change. Okay, now we have light rainbow. So this effect, same thing, what character triggers it, what group is it a part of, and then speed divider as we described before, and that's pretty much all you have to set on this one, and then it'll just cycle through some rainbow colors. Now we have Cilia light ripple. So yeah, main character that we wanted to apply to, what group we want it in, the speed divider, so how quickly it transitions. And then for this one, this is an effect that kind of fades out and then starts over. So you want to go ahead and set how many frames this effect will last for. Then we have green and blue. Okay, sorry. So we have a base color. So this is the color it'll fade out to. And then this is the color that'll be on top of that, kind of rippling through the effect. Now we have Cilia light voice. So not sure how terribly useful this will be. However, this effect will basically, you set a red, green, and blue value, and all the lights on the Cilia will change to this color. And then based on how much noise there is going into either the primary microphone on the machine or a specified microphone on the machine, it will be how bright the lights on the Cilia are. So most of the time you could probably check mic 0. If you know a specific microphone that's going to be attached to the machine, you can update the mic list here to kind of show what mics are attached. And then after you do that, actually See my Blue Yeti microphone populated here. You can select that, and then, yeah, it'll use that microphone. If you move to another machine and it doesn't have that microphone, that won't work. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at Cilia set all lights. So here you're kind of setting a light value for each light on the cilia in a specific group. So red, green, blue, all the way from left to right on the cilia. And then finally here on the effects, we have another one that's similar to the one we just saw. However, this one's variable. So similar to the fan linear, the closer you are to the center of a block, the brighter the lights will be. We provided kind of just a simple example player character. It just kind of moves around, and then a reset level that we kind of used when we were debugging to make sure that the persistent cilia survives from level to level or reset level. And that is about it on the prefabs. So like I said, if any of this is confusing, feel free to comment on the video. If you haven't seen the previous video, look for the Cilia SDK and control panel. That will probably explain a little bit more on getting started. And then if you are looking to develop with the Unreal Engine, that tutorial will be coming out soon. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.